When I made this thing, like 3 weeks ago, a bunch of you were like expecting, even when I released the video last week, a bunch of people were expecting that someone would rub it off or draw a mustache on it or whatever. It's been here the whole time. It's crazy. And look, they're using it and everything. I love it. Anyway, Chris has asked me to bring out the vlog again. I find this amusing because when I started training with Chris, I was like, I hope we don't feel weird or anything, but every now and then I might pull out the camera and just do a vlog just to sort of, you know, tell a bit of the behind the scenes in my normal day-to-day stuff. And he was like, that's fine, that's fine. Now every couple of sessions, it's like, sure you don't want to get out the camera and film this? When we like hit a landmark, and today it's a 100-kilo bench press. So I did 6 reps at 80 and we were gonna do 90, but he was like, man, do you wanna just say f it and do 100? I'm like, all right. So yeah.
Cracking, man.
I should probably rest it here though, just so that if it starts to fall, you can grab it.
Yeah, that's cool. Good idea.
Camera, wave, say hi. Hey, hey guys. I reckon you can go for 2? Probably.
We'll get there, man. Good work.
Okay, so today is an interesting and different activity. I've alluded to this in the last 2 vlogs. I was supposed to do this activity yesterday, but I didn't get around to it. So today what I'm doing is I'm actually making a course for Skillshare on how to present a camera, which is interesting given that it's essentially my career. I mean, I'm doing it right now. So yeah, I've got my main camera set up here and I'm actually gonna have a side camera. And one of the things I think should be really interesting for people who check out the course is while the whole course goes through quite a lot of info that I've printed here, and I'll be going through my script and all this stuff, there's like 6 or 7 parts about presenting to camera. There's also, at the very end, there's a project where I'll encourage people to build a talk to camera thing themselves and give specific parameters for that. But one of the interesting things is the very last video is actually going to be the raw, uncut footage of the entire course being put together, because I thought, what better way to demonstrate how I present to camera than to show the complete unedited, off to the side view of me presenting to camera. All the mistakes, all of the pauses when I read, when I sort of gather myself, when I correct myself mid-sentence and come back in mid-sentence, all of that stuff will be in that chunk at the end of the course. And it might be an hour long or something like that, but for people who really want to dive into what it looks like before all of the trimmings are added, it could be really interesting. For those of you who are wondering, by the way, the course features various sandwich analogies, so that'll be fun to incorporate. Alright, so this is my setup. By the way, a huge thanks to Rachel, who actually did this setup about 85–90% of the way before, I mean, let's be honest, 90–95% towards completion. I just did the last 5% of like all the really fine tuning and finicky sort of nitpicking to get it exactly how I wanted. So I've got all my stuff prepped. The lights I've sort of balanced and set up in a way that I think gets a really cool shot. So this is my main shot, and basically what I'm going to be doing is having a side camera over there, that's my GoPro, and that's going to be capturing everything off to the side to get sort of a behind the scenes chunk that I mentioned. So this will be grabbing all the raw footage and that will be uncut in the course, and you can see what it's like, you know, presenting to camera. But this is going to be the clean shot that most of the course will be presented in on, and yeah, it'll all happen there. So this is my script. I've made the text a bit bigger so it's easier to read, and I'm going to cross it off with my red marker over there as I go, and I think there's about 14 pages of stuff. So I'll be reading through that. So next I just need to put on my lav mic and get ready to go. But that's my setup. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and there's this little camera here, which is, there's a portion of the script where I make a sandwich. So that's going to be the camera that's going to capture that. I think this course should be really interesting to people who want to know what I do sort of before and after I present to camera to make presenting to camera, at least in the context of something a little more refined, as effective as possible. Because it can be really hard to get the production side of things, all the details sort of out of your head, as to avoid being nervous or feeling a little on edge. I really focus on all that stuff before and after, so that by the time I actually hit record, I'm good to go. And I'm about to hit record. I'm feeling a little nervous, but I know that I've done all the prep. So I'm going to start off by turning on this one, and I'm going to intro the raw side of things. This chunk of the course is the raw, uncut chunk of the course. So starting from the very beginning all the way through, you're just going to get the whole behind the scenes of how I put this course together, and I'm hoping that's informative as to, you know, how I present to camera and stuff. So I wanted to start off with just you guys before I start the actual course camera recording. I just want to introduce the setup a little bit. I want to also preface by saying that the equipment I'm using and the actual sort of more complex stuff, if you're starting off, don't feel intimidated. I've been doing this for a very long time. I started off with a webcam and a crappy computer though. I didn't have lighting equipment, I didn't have fancy sound equipment or anything like that. So this is all stuff that can come over time, but I thought I would intro you by sort of showing the setup I am using. Now, if you couldn't tell, I'm actually vlogging because I'm always making content of all sorts. So this is my behind the scenes of the behind the scenes of the behind the scenes. So it's a sort of behind the scenes-ception. Okay, I'll stop. Thank you so much for watching my Skillshare course. As I mentioned, Thank you so much for watching my Skillshare course. That does bring us to the end of the course. And in wrapping up, I just wanted to introduce the two next videos, which are part of the course, but not technically part of the presentation part of the course. One of the videos... Oh my goodness, that was very intense. So, it took me a total of 2 hours and 20 minutes to record the whole Skillshare course. Now, that's not bad. It's usually how long I would set aside for it. But it felt really intense the whole time because of the behind the scenes camera, because I was conscious of every mistake I made being available for people to watch, and it sort of really felt like it put a spotlight on that. So I think for the first quarter of the presenting, when I stuffed up and all that stuff, I was really conscious of it and sometimes referred to it or made a joke at my own expense to this other camera. But I feel like that also highlights some of the elements of the course where I talk about the importance of speaking to the camera as if it's a person. I almost feel like having the behind the scenes raw footage camera there helped emphasize that, because I was talking to the main camera as if it's a person, and then when I stuffed up, I talked sometimes to the behind the scenes camera as if it's a person watching me make my mistakes in the same way that I would if someone was in the room. So it's really interesting. It's been interesting to articulate the technicalities of how I present to camera, but also almost demonstrate on an emotional level how these things apply practically and what my mindset is. Because it really is that I'm talking to a person. Like even now while I'm vlogging, like I'm debriefing from a very intense film shoot thing and getting that intensity off my chest because it was really intense. But that was fun. I can't wait to put this all together for you guys to check out. That was really interesting. Alright, after quite a bit of fiddling around, I have the Premiere file all set up, ready to send off to the editors to work on the Skillshare course. There's a whole bunch of finicky little integrations for the raw footage section that I was mentioning. Ugh, weird internal burp thing. Making sure everything lines up and setting up all the adjustment layers and the visuals for huge, 4K and very lengthy video files was no small task, but that's all done and all of the subsequences are all set up, so everything's ready to go, and I'm just handing that over to the editors. But it's about 100 gigs of files to upload, and that's minus the raw camera, so it'll take a while to get to them, but they'll start working on that. But in the meantime, it's time for me to work on some other stuff. I'm actually working later tonight because we're taking next week off as a holiday, and to get all of the content done before we go and just sort of line things up to release while we're away, I'm gonna have to do a bit of crunching tonight and create another video tomorrow. So the course is divided into technically 9 parts. The 1 to 7 are the main parts of the course itself. 8 is the introduction of the class project and explaining that, and then part 9 is the raw footage part, which on its own is about 2 hours and 20 minutes long, as you can see. aside from that, there's obviously all the raw files and a whole bunch of the internal nests just to get everything working well and lined up. But otherwise, it should be pretty straightforward. It's 4K footage scaled to a 1080p video, so I can do some scaling, which is going to be somewhat lossless. And then this is the raw footage clip. Now, there wasn't much cutting that I did. I really did try and keep it as raw as possible, but there was one or two bits where I actually had to exit the studio once to talk to a gardener who was outside using power tools, and another time to run off and grab some bread. But that aside, this 2 hours and 20 minutes is like completely raw and uncut, and it contains the side camera so people sort of can look in on me presenting without feeling like I'm presenting to them, but also see the final outcome.
For some reason, the existence of the lights and the cameras and the production seems less intimidating to them. And for some reason, the existence of the lights and the cameras and the production seems less intrusive to them than it does to you sitting in front of your DSLR and recording yourself or your own or someone else's content.
Okay, so today's been productive. It's now 12:30 in the morning though, and I need to wrap up and go to bed, and tomorrow's my last day working before I finally get some time off, which we've had planned for a while, which is really good. So, bit of a crunch now, but then nice break for a bit over a week. I'm going to wrap up with a question of the day. Voodoo Woodoo says, can you make a Jake Paul style apology video but for Drawception? That would be amusing, but I'm not sure which angle I should take. Should I do the tweet? Wait, no, sorry, by the way, it's not Jake Paul, it's Logan Paul who did the apology video. Anyways, should I do the Logan Paul tweet, which is sort of conceited and sort of self-complimenting, self-praising, and ends with a hashtag and an emoji? Or should I apologize with like a video where I look really sad and like I'm crying after people get pissed off at my tweet? Or should I instead do like a motivational video sharing heartfelt stories about people from Drawception who have suffered from my input and how important it is to not screw up Drawception? I don't know. Leave your feedback in the comments and let me know which apology would be most appropriate. It's time for bed. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.